Yo, everybody, what's up? This is the cartel, the MFFL um, recap for the week. Corey's not here with me, so I'm doing it solo. So let's jump right to it. Pretty interesting weekend as far as the leagues go, the divisions, I mean. Looking in here, we've got the Superstar division, which is like the shitty star division. Every single team in that division lost. The Blues on a 6-game losing streak, probably the first time that's ever happened to him. And everybody else lost. Some of them closer games, some of them not so close. The All-American division, everybody won except for Mike, who got blown out, almost doubled his score, had a rough game with some injuries. But with the cartel winning, me winning, it kind of condensed it a little bit. That division is still, very much in play. It'll be interesting to see which of us go to the playoffs, because it could come down to head-to-head records and all kinds of other stuff. And the Power Pack division, you had everyone won except for the Brooklyn Untouchables, who lost to me. And so everyone in that league did well as well. So let's look at the I have some things I was going to say. I'll wait. Let's look at the scores from the last week. We'll start here with Saginaw Bad Company and Detroit Biohazards. The score was pretty close. Bad Company lost. Hurts didn't have an amazing game. He had a good, solid game. Dylan didn't do much. Pollard looked great. Judy got hurt. Cup got hurt. And that was really it. If Cup doesn't get hurt and Judy gets 10 points, they probably win this game. That's football. Dalton Schultz came through with 14 points. Probably his best game of the season. And he didn't really have too much on his bench that he could have used, except for Rashad White, but really you're not going to start him over Dylan or Pollard. So he played pretty much the perfect lineup, and good for him. He got the win. Going over to the Biohazards, Mahomes is having a great season. There are lots of touchdowns, lots of points scored on that team. So he did well. Travis Etienne was very quiet. McCaffrey had a good game, solid game. Davis continues to do well. And then you got Lazard, Lockett, Ertz got hurt, and really nothing else there. Still almost scored 100 points. That was really on the back of Patrick Mahomes. As far as his bench, Jeffrey Wilson has a timeshare with Monster. I think they both had between 15 and 20 points. It looks good. That team looks pretty great right now as far as their offense. And then really no one else on there that he could have or should have played. Like, you're not going to play Elijah Mitchell over Etienne or McCaffrey. So I don't think he made any mistakes on that. He does have a deep bench. Kicker might have made a difference. Juwan Johnson can step right into Zach Ertz's spot since Ertz was injured. So that's not going to be a big drop off. It doesn't seem to be. And he earned the win. Good for him. Going to Chicago Blues, Connecticut Commandos. The Blues, I think their average points for is about 90 points. So this is even a little bit lower than he's used to. And, if you score 120 to 150 points, you're probably going to win most games in this league. Trevor Lawrence did well. Really, Christian Kirk did well, getting thrown to by Trevor Lawrence. So that makes sense. And, nobody else really did anything. Metcalf did okay. Dolchich, I think is how you say it. He's had a really good season, didn't really do much. None of that offense did that much that game. So really nothing there for Nandu to have done any differently. Nobody on his bench. Jalen Warren's not going to start probably over either of these two guys, but it is what it is, right? This is kind of a lost season for Nandu. He's probably just thinking, pick up the pieces and look forward to the draft, especially after that loss. Connecticut Commandos still very much in the playoff hunt. I think if you can get to about 500 and be there at the end of the season, you have a play potentially, depending on what else happens. Cousins had a quiet game, which is weird because Justin Jefferson blew up, but you get less points for quarterbacks. Aaron Jones looked really strong. Pierce had another solid day. Devontae Adams was unstoppable. Terry McLaurin, Rondell Moore both looked good. The Bills defense looked good. And then on the bench, he left Gibson and Kadarius Toney, who was really quiet last week, his first game on that team. And now he's kind of showing what he can do. The challenge with Kansas City is that for whatever reason, Mahomes throws to everybody. I feel like they have 11 wide receivers, so you never know who's going to get hot. But they do score so many points that really anybody can score any given day. It's just going to be hot or cold. So solid win for Connecticut Commandos. Indiana War Pigs versus the Belleville Lead Dogs. I thought this was going to be a bit closer. It wasn't. Geno Smith, 20 points is, for me, is about average for most quarterbacks. If you score less than that, you didn't have a great game. If you score more than that, you did. Eckler, very quiet compared to what he usually does. Miles Sanders, also quiet. Jamal Williams, quiet. Ayuk, fine. Tyreek Hill, fine. Taysom Hill, non-existent. Like he's been riding the coattails of Eckler all the way to that record. And when Eckler has a pedestrian game, it's going to hurt him. I think with Justin Herbert having nobody to throw to because Keenan Allen's out and Mike Williams is out, that puts a lot of pressure on Eckler. But then, of course, the defense can, key in on him. And I don't know, hopefully he'll get better. I think Keenan Allen's coming back this week. So maybe that'll give Eckler a little bit of space to run. Nobody on the bench really to speak of. Burrow was on a bye. Mark Andrews was on a bye. Both those guys have been keys along with Eckler. So he probably expected to lose this game. But now that the bye is done, barring any other injury, he should be good to go through till the end. Belleville Lead Dogs now ties the War Pigs at the record of 7-3. Kenny Pickett was a pickup because Lamar Jackson was out. He got 19 points out of him, which is better than I thought he would do. Fournette continues to have quiet games. Josh Jacobs, good game at 20 points. Cordell Patterson blew up his first game back, has been really quiet the last two. Mooney, hot and cold, great receiver. You got a quarterback that runs every chance he's given. He's like a top 3 running back numbers in the last 2 games. St. Brown looked good. Kelsey looked good. And on the bench, he played probably the perfect lineup as well. So good for him. That gives some parity. I hate that the Lead Dogs won because it affects my potential division, but as long as he stays far enough ahead, then I could just fight the guys underneath him for that wild card spot. Then maybe it works out. Royal Oak Conan Barbarians, 92 points. That's way more points than he has been scoring. His team looked pretty good. He just ran into a Bullies team that looked a little bit better. Prescott didn't have a great game, but 21 points, fine. Nick Chubb looked good. DeAndre Swift continues to be quiet. We know the talent is there. It's so frustrating. He just isn't getting the points. Godwin finally showed up. Sutton didn't look bad. Thielen was good, but it was a Justin Jefferson show. Kyle Pitts continues to under impress with the quarterback situation there. Robbie Gould came through. And then you look on the bench, Campbell Paris with 17 points. That would have been probably almost enough to win. I guess maybe not because you got to take out what they scored. So if you played Campbell Paris over Cortland Sutton, maybe that would have made a difference. Other than that, he played the best team that he has, and it's disappointing because this was a good chance for him to get a win. Broad Street Bullies. I thought about Terry a lot yesterday and how his team has been continuing to impress and overachieve. And, he picked up Dante Foreman. And it's almost like when you throw away something and then somebody buys it at Goodwill and puts it on and also it looks really cool on them. He just picks up these pieces of people that I'm like, why is he drafting him? And then they end up being really good. So now you got this team put together from Goodwill that just seems to get it done. Like, do they win 69-68 sometimes? But they also won 104-92. So Tom Brady underachieved all season. Saquon Barkley has been, a top 5 running back. Foreman is impressing me. I live in Carolina. I think they'd win another game. And, he had a rushing touchdown and 130 yards, which is unbelievable. Hopkins is showing up. Drake, despite bad quarterback play, is showing up. Olave is probably one of the top 3 rookies of the year.
Evan Ingram isn't. Riley Patterson had a bad game. I think he missed 2 field goals, and the Eagles defense is Eagles defense. The big thing of this, he's not even playing Najee Harris. He's not even playing Khalil Herbert. Those are guys that we thought would be for sure starters, top 10 running backs. He's not even playing them, and he's still winning. So, I mean, if he finishes higher than me in the league, I'll probably quit the league and kill myself. But kudos to him. He seems to be doing it. He's at 500. So it's interesting. If you look at the league in general, there's been teams that have always been at the top, and there's been teams that have always been at the bottom. And that's not a judgment on anybody. It's just the way that it's been in the last 3 or 4 years. And this year, everything's flipped upside down. You got the cartel and Nandu fighting to even make 500. And you got lead dogs and Bullet Street bullies that are at the top that look really good and are have some momentum behind them. So I guess that's a testament to decisions they've made, but also good for the Barbarians and the Pit Bulls, these other new teams that feel like, oh my God, this is horrible. I don't know why I'm doing this. Just stay the course, make good trades, make good pickups, get a little bit of lucky. And next thing you know, you're going to be 7-3 like Rodney is. The next one is my favorite, Charlotte Cartel versus the Brooklyn Untouchables. Obviously, the Untouchables had a rough game compared to how they usually play. Jamar Chase is on bye. That hurts. Brian Robinson didn't play. That's 14 points. Probably wouldn't have started him anyways. Juju Smith out with a concussion. DJ Moore, bad quarterback play. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, that connection, although most people hate having a quarterback wide receiver connection like that, because if they suck, they both suck. If they're good, they're both good. So they're good for 45 to 50 points. And he's scoring 100 to 120 points, 140 points a game. It's because he's getting 40 to 50 from 2 players. So far they've been magical. And as long as that continues, he's going to have the ability to score that many points any given game. However, in a game like this, if they have a regular game where 22 points for some reason is like, oh my God, Josh Allen had a horrible game. Well, it's only 1 point less than Tua, who had a really good game. So it tells you how good Josh Allen is. Connor looked good. Of course, they had to run him because Kyler didn't play. Dalvin Cook looked good. Goddard looked good. Got a touchdown early in the game and then was a little bit quiet, but he got the touchdown. So his team is solid. The challenge is, and that's without Jamar Chase. So put Jamar Chase in, take out Juju Smith-Schuster. That's another 20-ish points from Chase probably. He can score 30, he can score 10. Let's call it 20. Now all of a sudden he's at 136. I don't think, even with pedestrian numbers, unless there's more injuries, anybody's going to beat him consistently if he's scoring 136. Could you have a great game and score 137? Sure. But if you're going to bet, would you bet it against him losing against any team in the league? I probably wouldn't. However, I'm 1-0 against that motherfucker. And I just want to say that I did route the gout, and I look forward to doing it every season moving forward. He was a good guy, though. He texted me at 1:30 when he already knew he was beat. And he was like, yeah, this is your Christmas gift, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I still want a real Christmas gift, but I'll take this also. He basically said, fuck you. And so here we are. So anyways, a good win for Cartel. Tua had a good game. He's been great the last 4 games. Kamara was quiet. Quarterback situation's no good. Rock Monster showed up. Jonathan Taylor played well finally. Justin Jefferson and Sam easily won the game. They're usually 10 to 15 points a game. They doubled what their normal production is. Kittle was a blocker. Maher had 4 extra points. They didn't need any field goals. No good on that. And, we'll see what happens next week. I think we'll talk about that in a second. Final game we haven't talked yet, Motor City Kings against Ypsilanti Pit Bulls. Great for the Pit Bulls, kind of like the Barbarians. He had probably his best game of the season. I mean, Justin Fields continues to impress. Gordon, Singletary, and Wilkins continue to not impress. Mike Evans is usually solid. He was fine. Devontae Smith had a touchdown. He was fine. Gerald Everett, who's actually a good tight end, was low. Great kicking situation. And he just doesn't have anybody on the bench to necessarily play. Ezekiel's not probably even better than Pollard at this point. Harris is probably not better than Ramondre. Kenyon Drake, you're on a running game with 3 other running backs and a running quarterback. Is that solid? James Cook, like there's just nowhere for him to go. This is probably the peak as far as what he can put out there, and that's with 40 points from a touch from a quarterback. I don't know he can score 137 or 150 to beat an untouchables. But Jameson Williams comes back next season. George Pickens, I think he's a great, when he gets a good quarterback, he's gonna be a great wide receiver. Maybe Cook ends up being something. He's got Devontae, he's got Mike. He has 5 good keepers that if he drafts well next season and gets a good draft pick, first, second, third round, that he could really make it a leap and jump from, being a bottom 3 or 4 teams to maybe being mid-range or even one of the top 10 or top 10, top 5, no, 12 teams. And then we look at Motor City Kings. Thankfully, they're now 5-5. They would have been above 500. He has, Kyler Murray was hurt. He had to go find Wolford, who was horrible. Derrick Henry had a quiet game. Kenneth Walker had a quiet game. Amari Cooper had a quiet game. Like, you see the trend. He only had 1 player in double digits on his entire team. He knew this game was over probably by halftime of the first games. And really on the bench, Ramondre Stevenson would have been a huge help. Kyler Murray playing would have been a huge help. And Keenan Allen and Marquise Brown, who have been injured, he picked up Allen off of waivers. He picked up Marquise Brown off of waivers. They were both on my team earlier. Are great, like top 10, top 12 wide receivers when they're healthy, and they're coming back. So my thing is, he got blown out by one of the, lower teams in the league this game. But if those guys come back and all of a sudden he's got Kyler Murray, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, Keenan Allen, Marquise Brown, and it doesn't really matter who else he has, he makes the playoffs, he has as good of a chance as anybody else to beat anybody on any given day. So he's done really well with kind of what he was given to build the team that he's got. All right, let's go forward. If I can figure out how to do this, the schedule. Let's go over to, here we go, week 11. Charlotte Cartel against the Motor City Kings. I do think the Kings will do much better next week. I do think the Cartel wins. I don't even call that an upset. I think the Cartel are favored to win, barring any injury. Lock it and load it. That's my call. Belleville lead dogs against the Broad Street Bullies. Now, that's going to be an interesting poll. I think the Bullies, this is the time that their momentum stops. I think they're going to play a real team that's going to score 120, 130 points. And I think the Bullies are going to score less than that. So I think the Bullies are going to lose. Normally that would be an upset, but I think the Bullies are playing so well this season that I don't necessarily call that an upset. Going down here to Detroit Biohazards and the Commandos. I need to look at something real quick. Biohazards, I think, have let me see. Scores 11. Here we go. Biohazards have Travis Etienne and Tyler Lockett on bye. So they're going to need to find, and Jeffrey Wilson on bye. So they're going to have to find some other people to put in there. And they got Juwan Johnson in. That Biohazards could lose to the Commandos potentially. Commandos have a full squad. They're not missing anybody. If they play it right, Biohazards could lose that game for sure, even though it's a 9-point favorite. Well, actually, those don't even matter because people don't always put their games in. Untouchables, which is certainly not a 41-point favorite over Pitbulls, I don't think. Let me look. Untouchables are going to play, Josh Allen, Connor, Cook, Diggs, Moore, Goddard, Chase. Again, I think they get back on the winning road today, this week, and they beat the Pitbulls pretty handily, which is probably expected by everybody. Saginaw Bad Company, Chicago Blues. Saginaw's got no Waddle, no Rashad White, but they put Joe Mixon back in. They can do 3 running backs: Joe Mixon, Pollard, Dillon. Cup's out, Judy's potentially out. So they have to figure out the wide receiver situation. They got Garrett Wilson, and he might need to pick up a wide receiver. He's in a little bit of a mess there. And then Chicago Blues are missing their Trevor Lawrence. Deshaun Watson's not back yet. I don't know. That's just a messy game. Blues are going to have to pick up a quarterback, it looks like. And DK Metcalf is out. Christian Kirk is out. Trevor Lawrence is out. I think that that company win that game, but it's a messy game. I don't like it at all. And then finally, we got Indiana War Pigs and the Barbarians. War Pigs have everybody back. Geno Smith and Tyreek Hill are on bye. Conan Barbarians. Godwin's on bye. But they're playing some pretty tough defense. Swift is playing Giants defense. Chubb's playing Buffalo's defense. Thielen's playing Dallas defense. Paris Campbell's playing Philly's defense. And then you look at the defense that, my upset of the week is Royal Barbarians beating Indiana War Pigs. I do want to say one other thing, and that is that I know when I said earlier that the Terry's team, the Broad Street Bullies, was going to lose to the Lead Dogs. That's mostly because the Bullies have Tom Brady on bye, as well as Evan Ingram and Riley Patterson, and no other quarterback on his roster. So he's picked up a ton of players, but he only has one quarterback. So he's going to have to either drop Brady, pick up another quarterback, or drop players and pick up a second quarterback for one game, whatever. There aren't any good I went through yesterday. There aren't any good quarterbacks left. You might get lucky and get Kenny Pickett for $1.50 and he puts up 20 points. That is not likely. Like usually you're going to do something more like what happened with that guy, that kid for the Rams that came in that sucked. So we'll be interested to see what he does. And that gives me more of a feeling that the Dogs are going to have a leg up. Because I don't have anybody to talk to, I don't have any conversation about the games that we do. Look at one other thing here. I'm going fast too. I have a meeting in 6 minutes. Let's see. Here's week 12 matchups. Cartel Motor City, Cartel Pit Bulls, Cartel Lead Dogs, Cartel Bullies. Kings, Brooklyn Untouchables, Biohazard, oh no, it's not true. Bullies, and then Lead Dogs. Biohazard, Lead Dogs. Sorry, I should have done this on my own before. I was looking to see who has the easiest road to the playoffs. I think it's just too many games still to go. There's too many variables. So if we go back to what the record is, or the division it looked like with the standings, there's just too much. I mean, after this next game, the road will be clearer, right? If I lose and I go to 4-7, the chances of me going to 7-7 and making the playoffs are about 0. So this is a must-win game for somebody like me at 4-6. It basically doesn't matter for the Blues or the Barbarians. Anybody at 2-8, 3-7, it's maybe a 1% chance that they can make it. Not very possible. But then a team like, Detroit Biohazards could win the next 3 games and go 9-4, and Brooklyn Untouchables could end up at 9-4 too. Like there's still play there. So I'm going to stop here, and we'll look at it after next week. And we'll see what Corey thinks about it too, and we'll go from there. So anyways, sorry for the abbreviated session today. Got a lot going on. Good luck to everybody except for the team that plays me, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.